Started out as a jape.
Yeah, no
How
kidding.
did it end up like this?
Oh, boy.
Hello, everybody. I'm Will.
And I'm Kristen.
And this is So I'm Watching The Great, Season 2, Episode 6.
A simple jape.
Oh.
Yeah. A lot happened in this episode.
Well, I had a moment in the beginning of this episode, and I was feeling this way the last two episodes, where I was like, not that we're going in circles, but I was sort of like, this is... I'll watch this for easily another season or two.
Yeah.
But I was sort of like, what are the story prospects? Like, what exactly are we telling? And Catherine and Peter definitely kind of were going in circles.
I'll start there because what I find interesting is that by the end of this episode, I think Peter is actually in love with her now. Yeah.
I think this was his sort of last ditch attempt at convincing himself that he was still in control.
Yeah.
And is certainly capable of that mentality of choosing that direction. But
I mean, right now at this point, it's Grigor and Arcady who are like trying to snatch power back. And Peter is just wants to have parties again.
I get very frustrated with modern political discourse because I feel like there's a lot of, as a relatively progressive, liberal millennial, I feel like there's a lot of people demanding perfection.
There's an immediacy to it that is not.
They're sort of,
graspable.
we need to be perfect exactly, on everybody's terms and the yada, yada, yada. And it's just not, it's not achievable and it's not attainable and definitely not the ways that the demands are. And all of that is to say that there was something very fascinating, cathartic watching this episode because it was
it's like it's a metaphor.
Well, it was illustrated, I think, best with Elizabeth when Velementov was like, do you believe with her or do you agree with her? And she was like, philosophically, yes.
Yeah.
But it's not achievable. And so I think
it's certainly not achievable the way she's doing it.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's the kind of thing that it does, unfortunately, often require incremental change because you have to, if you're trying to get 5 steps, it's like, or 6 steps or 20 steps, it's like you have to get to the first and the second and the third.
Yeah, you can't just jump to you can't just free all the serfs today. It's not doable. I mentioned earlier in the season that when we lost Leo, I was like, a show like this could be very easy to lose the stakes over. Yeah. And they're very flippant with how we treat seriousness, like life and death, because we see people die. It's not frequently people that it doesn't often hurt my feelings.
Yeah, it
hurt my feelings in this episode. Like a lot. Like it really hurt my feelings.
Well, because I get it, and
I should have seen it coming, and that's what kind of made me the most angry, is that I feel like I should have seen it coming and I didn't, and it just was really sad and mean. And I
noticed that they weren't giving Svenska, like even Tatiana, they've given her comedy, like they've given her bits to soften me towards her, and they weren't doing that with Svenska.
Also, they made her ugly in this episode, which was deeply hilarious.
The shaky situation, I totally understand and agree with the decision to do it. I just thought that was going to be fun to have that character, especially Lady Anastasia. And
so
there was a sentimentality to her getting the room that in hindsight feels very final.
And her paintings, she had like paintings.
And Muriel, that was rough. Well, and even again, Elizabeth, I love that moment where Catherine felt so betrayed. And meanwhile, this whole series, I'm like, she's never afraid enough. And maybe that's what allows her to be this visionary.
I think so.
But she was just sort of like, they killed her. And Elizabeth was like, you put her on the board.
Yeah, I love that she was like, you put her there. You can't be mad when someone takes your pawn. And it's just like, I mean, she's right.
I completely understand having to trick people into agreeing with you, but you can't make them feel stupid.
Well, that's the thing, too, is she's also not tricking them into agreeing with her because she gave away the Jape too quickly and too publicly. And then after that, she just was like, the serfs are free, deal with it. And it's like, that's not how any of this works.
So the schoolgirls, was that just showing the downside to education?
Well, a little bit, but also the like
what they were warning her against. It's like, well, if you educate people, then they can call you out on your...
Not necessarily. I mean, a little bit, but also the fact that there are now more progressive people than her who will throw marzipan cakes at her if she's not doing it fast enough.
She does just get...
Yeah.
She gets kind of pummeled on this show. Elle Fanning is very... The nobles have basically revolted against Catherine completely. And Peter was leading the charge. He proved how easily he can get out and completely take over again if he wants to.
Well, because he's not actually on any kind of arrest. All of his people can come and see him anytime they want. And it's very frustrating to me because they are obviously all not on Catherine's side and she's not doing anything about it.
But it also goes to show you that she does need him.
Yeah, a little.
So it's like every time that she really tries to put him in his place, I'm a little like, I mean, you can do that a little bit, but you can't do it too much. And culminated in him finding her, absolutely in pieces.
Yeah.
And
because the serfs were then killing the nobles and the nobles were killing the serfs back.
And each other.
And each other. And it was just sort of like mayhem. So she knew it had to stop. And then she told Velementov to make it stop. But yeah, and he just comforted her. It was actually kind of nice. It was sweet. He's so hot. I would just make it work, maybe.
And I did love him sort of putting her in her place a little bit with the two girls.
Oh my God. So funny. So funny. And they just were standing, those girls were standing there the entire time just eating the crepes.
I'm not sure what exactly to make of the scene with Archie and Basil.
Dude, me neither.
I saw it.
Kissed on the mouth.
Well,
Archie kissed him on the mouth.
But Basil was doing this weird thing the whole time where he comes in with that dulcet tone and that like beard. And
he is also such a piece. Like such a piece.
Well, I would never call him a piece, but it's the whole, there's something about it.
He's a whole package.
Yeah. But what were they even talking about? Like, what was the text? I know what the subtext was.
It was about the church and how it's like I think Father Basil is leaving now. I suspect we'll get one or two more scenes with him, but I think he is leaving now. And his point was basically that because
Archie's corrupted,
because he has to be at court and he's not like he basically is like Russia should be following God, but instead they're following the Empress who like the leadership is broken. And so then the country is not following God.
The thing is, I'm not certain that I believe the message of that scene was that Archie is gay. I think it was more how, well, corruptible. I mean, I don't love the conflation. No,
but I also think it was more of a like...
I think he was responding to the passion.
Yes, because I think he knows how far he's strayed from God. And he is very intrigued by this man who can be at court and still be true to his faith.
I want a gay on the show.
There should be more
We've
gay.
Flirted with it, but not really. Not. It feels like there should be.
Yeah, I agree. Remember that show Versailles?
Yeah, it was like this without the sense of humor.
Yeah.
We only made it the one season.
Yeah.
I still intend to finish it, but...
Well, Orlo was finally having a good time having sex, and then he got interrupted. Man, you know what? I mean, I think that Grigor is the handsomest man on the show besides Nick Holt, but he's really making me try, like, to not like him. Or he's making me not like him, and it's frustrating me.
I mean, I absolutely accept that assessment of him being handsome, but to me, he's like Matt from Vampire Diaries. I just kind of see mashed potatoes. I mean, he's very, but also sort of a Tom Hooper thing.
Can he at least be like scalloped potatoes?
Sure.
Okay.
He's just a white guy. He's just hot,
he's not like as white bread as Matt from Vampire Diaries.
I mean, that dude is like Polish.
No, I know, but Matt is like from Idaho. Those are different.
No, I like him. I find him very a climate like a tree, but it is sort of I have an element of face blindness with him.
Do you want to see what he looks like with hair?
Oh, that's really nice.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
God, yeah. I wonder, like, because the him and Mariel thing kind of continued a little bit. I love Shaky's eye patch. I just don't. I get it. I accept it, and that's why that's why it works, because we cared. But
I think it was a smidge too early. Also, like, that's the thing, is like, that is, I think, one of my only criticisms for this show is that every episode does wrap up rather neatly.
I mean, I don't think we're.
No, but I mean, like, this uprising is over. Like, they have quashed this uprising, and that's the thing where it's like, I wish that the uprising hadn't started and ended in this episode. I wish that we had this over like a two episode arc.
I think things will.
I think things will spill over, but I don't think that the uprising should have even started in this episode. There should have been unrest, and
there should have been a cliffhanger,
exactly,
or to be continued.
Yeah.
Is what it reminds me of is another excellent show that we are huge fans of, is The Magicians, where they would bring in like a really dynamic character, and we would get 1, maybe 2 episodes, and we'd be like, I'm not done with Christopher Gorham yet. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And so I kind of get that vibe, but I do like where it has gotten our characters. And we do also know another one of our favorite shows, Riverdale, what can happen if you get too many characters. Things become unwieldy, unruly. But Mariel did kill Svenska, and I am with you.
Yeah.
I'm a little livid. Svenska has no idea that she's dead.
So I love to see it. I love to see it happen, but I wish that Mariel had been like, turn around and look at me while I do this to you, because she couldn't have done anything. She didn't have a gun. She could have easily still shot her.
And I do appreciate because I mean, this is a TVMA.
Yeah.
Like, it's not gratuitous in the sense that it's not sex position all over. Like, we've only seen 2 nipples thus far.
Yeah.
But they make it count.
Yeah.
And so it's not a particularly violent show, but when
there were brains.
There was matter.
Yeah. There were brains for sure.
And it does sort of give it that that it needs. But basically, I loved it. I didn't think we were going to get this, or I wasn't anticipating something this serious, like this emotional.
Yeah, no, same.
And that's part of why I kind of stuttered through this episode, because I'm a little bit kind of like,
I feel weird phrasing it this way, but I really enjoyed how hard it hit Mariel. And especially the conversation she and Catherine had at the beginning, where she was like, where they were talking about Shaky before all of this happened. And she was like, you were one of them. It's changed you. And Mariel was like, I don't want that though. And she was like, you can't help it. It's
well,
you were treated
I
this
laughed,
way, and so you understand the plight.
I laughed when it happened, but it was like when the serfs were gone, everybody was in shambles except for Mariel.
Yeah.
She managed to be able to put her clothes on.
It was amazing. I mean, also, that's the other thing too, is like, I would suspect that the people who were nice to their serfs would keep that. The serfs would be like, well, I'll stay. I'm not going to try to shoot you.
Maybe.
You know, like Eula probably wouldn't have done anything.
Well, she told Mariel.
She did tell Mariel, and she wouldn't stab Shaky. And so Svenska.
Well, and I felt that I said it when it was happening, where I was like, well, there are 2 of you and 1 of her.
Yeah. That's the kind of thing where it's like, if I think Eula would just decide to stay with Mariel, I think she would be like, well, it's the law, you have to pay me, but I think she'd stay with her because she was nice to her. And that's the kind of thing where it's like, don't fucking talk shit to your waiters, because they're gonna spit in your food and you only have yourself to blame. You know, no one's gonna empty your shit bowl and then you're gonna spill it all over your hands.
That was very, very eloquent.
What can I say? I don't have an MFA in creative writing, so.
All right. Well, we're gonna go watch the next episode. So,
bye.